Saving seeds was one of the things that inspired me to start growing vegetables in the first place, as I felt it was a crucial part of being able to engage with the full cycle of producing my own vegetables. I started saving seeds on the very first year that I had my own vegetable garden, and continued to do it for quite a number of years after that. But then I stopped saving seeds for a few reasons, mainly because seed saving didn't really fit into the research focus of the series of family-scale gardens that I was working on at the time. Apart from a few bean seeds, I haven't saved any seeds at all for quite a number of years, but this year I decided to start again, and I've saved my very first batch of carrot seeds. Over the past few years, I've been quite pleased with the carrots that I've been able to grow most of the time, especially with the main crop variety called Autumn King, which has been producing large yields of tasty carrots that I store over winter. It's become a variety that I really like, and I've developed the skills to be able to grow this crop quite well, which are two of the criteria that I think are important in determining what vegetables I'm going to save seed from. But more than many other crops, saving seeds from carrots can take a fair amount of time, can be tricky to get right, and uses up a fair amount of space. This is mainly because carrots are a biennial crop, which grows slowly in the first year and store lots of energy in a root that overwinters and then uses that energy to produce lots of seed in the second year. There is also the possibility that the insect-pollinated carrot flowers can be cross-pollinated with any other carrots that are flowering at the same time, or with wild plants such as Queen Anne's lace. This means that I need to be a bit careful about where and how I grow them, and I should really test the seed to make sure that it's true to the variety that I wanted to save. And if I want to ensure that the seeds that I save from this variety of carrot don't become less productive and inbred after successive rounds of seed saving into the future, I should really save seeds from quite a few plants, which will take up a fair amount of space. Last year, when I was harvesting a decent crop of this variety of carrots from one of my gardens, I set aside about 40 roots for seed saving. I selected some of the best carrots, the ones that seemed to most closely match both the shape and characteristics of this variety. This is one of the unfortunate things about seed saving from crops like carrots, that you don't actually get to eat some of the best carrots that you grow. I carefully replanted these carrots in a patch of soil beside my polytunnel garden, which was in a relatively sheltered spot and wasn't being used for any of my other explorations. It was also right beside a couple of honeybee hives, which I thought would help with the pollination of these carrot flowers. I replanted the carrots about 30 centimeters apart, with about 70 centimeters between the rows, in a prepared bed that took up about 8 square meters. These seed carrots need to be replanted at a spacing quite a bit wider than they were originally grown in, as apparently the flower stalks of these plants can take up quite a bit of space, and it's best to encourage good ventilation between the plants. I've watched a lot of carrots grow from seed, but I've never seen a bunch of carrots regrow in the second season like this, and it's interesting how different the growth and structure of the plants are. During the summer, the umbrella-shaped flowers that are characteristic of this family of plants started to form, with each umbrella made up of many tiny flowers. It was also interesting to see how many of these umbrellas each plant produced, with significant variation in size, and most of the pollination seemed to occur in around the middle of July. A lot of different types of insects were attracted to these flowers, and apparently many of them can act as pollinators as they walk across the umbrella clusters, or when they fly from one cluster to the next, spreading pollen around. We had a period of quite strong wind during the middle of August as the seeds were starting to develop, which caused a lot of the tall flower stalks to fall over onto each other. In hindsight, I probably should have put up a few posts and tied up all the tall plants to prevent them from lodging like this, but it still seemed that I would be able to harvest most of the seeds. In early September, I began testing to see when the seeds might be ready to harvest. I wanted to wait until the seeds were mature enough, but to not leave them so long as they might shake loose and fall to the ground. I was also concerned about the relatively wet weather that we had been having, so I waited to harvest the seed until there was a breezy and sunny day to try to reduce the amount of moisture that might be in these seed clusters. Each plant had at least one larger umbrella, which apparently contains the strongest seeds, but I also picked a lot of the other umbrellas that seemed to be ready. I left the smaller seed clusters and the ones that didn't seem mature enough yet, and I was planning to harvest these the following week, but I didn't get back to the task in time, and I figured that I probably had more than enough seed. I carefully laid out all of the flower heads onto trays and placed them into a ventilated propagation space so that they could completely dry. Once they were dry, I went through the methodical and relatively slow process of separating the seeds from the seed heads, trying not to pull off too many of the tiny stems. Each carrot seed has many tiny spines or hairs attached to it that are usually removed in order to make it easier to sow the seeds. But apparently this isn't necessary for the seeds to germinate. I had researched a number of different options for cleaning the seeds and tried out a few of them. I found that rubbing the seeds gently between two pieces of sandpaper was quite effective, as was rubbing them with my hand in a sieve. I separated the seed from all of the dust and tiny pieces with this sieve, and then gently blowing and winnowing, and removed some of the larger pieces by hand. I wasn't so concerned about having completely clean seed, as a bit of debris in with the seed really doesn't matter, as I'm currently sowing all of the seed by hand. No doubt there's plenty of other ways to be able to do this task, especially for larger quantities. But with the scale and context I'm working with, I'm usually interested in finding really simple solutions, even if they do take a little bit of extra time. I ended up with about 120 grams of clean carrot seed, which is a lot, and I could have got quite a bit more, perhaps even double that amount, if I had harvested all of the smaller seed heads, but then these seeds might not have been as strong. Apparently there's about 800 carrot seeds in each gram, so this means that I might have harvested up to 100,000 seeds, which is a huge amount of seeds. The small packets of seeds that most gardeners would buy typically contain only about a gram of seeds, but I generally purchase seeds in much larger quantities, typically purchasing 50 grams of seeds for this variety each year, though I generally don't sow all of it at one season. So I would estimate that this one harvest of seed could be enough to last 3 years of sowings that I typically do in all the gardens that I'm currently growing in. And 3 years is apparently how long these seeds could remain strong and viable if they're stored properly. But looking at it in another way, if I was to purchase this much organic autumn carrot seed, it would cost between 15 and 40 euro, depending on the supplier. And given the amount of time that it took to grow and care for and harvest all these seeds, and the amount of space that it took to grow them, it would be a lot easier to simply buy the seed. On top of that, I wasn't able to eat or sell almost 8 kilograms of really good carrots that I had set aside in order to be able to produce these seeds. I can certainly understand why many farmers and growers don't bother to save their own seed, assuming that they're even growing open-pollinated varieties, as it doesn't make sense financially and it takes a lot of time. But there are a lot of other reasons for seed saving, including gaining a better understanding of the whole process and to develop the necessary seed saving skills, which is something I'm really interested in doing. So I now have loads of carrot seeds of a variety I really like to grow a lot of, but I'm not keen on using them just yet, not until I'm relatively convinced that they're good enough quality. The first test would be to check the viability of the seed, to ensure that the seeds germinate strongly, and this can be done by simply sowing a certain number of seeds in a tray of seed compost. And then there is the issue of testing them to make sure that they're true to the variety, to make sure that the flowers hadn't been cross-pollinated. I had checked the area to make sure that there weren't any other varieties of carrots or related weeds flowering at the same time, but I can't be certain of this. So for next season, I'm going to continue to grow mainly seeds that I've purchased in all of my gardens, which I still have a lot of, and to sow a test batch of these saved seeds in another piece of ground. And once these carrots mature next autumn, hopefully I'll be satisfied with the quality of the seed, and I can use it for all of my gardens in 2021. So, saving carrot seeds takes quite a length of time, with 3 years from the original sowing in spring of 2018 to the spring of 2021 when I will be finally able to grow with all of my own seeds. I could of course use all of these seeds next year, but I want to make sure that I get a good crop of carrots out of all of my gardens next season, as this is more important for this research project. I've been able to grow another really good crop of the same variety of Autumn King carrots this season, and I'm planning to save seeds from another batch next year. Assuming everything works out okay, from 2021 onwards, I'm only going to be growing this variety of carrots from my own seed. And then I'll have loads of seeds from these 2 batches, and I won't need to save any more seed from this variety of carrots for a number of years. And this opens up the possibility of saving seeds from other varieties of carrots in the following years. There are also lots of other vegetables that I want to save seeds from, and to really get back into seed saving in a significant way. But I only want to save seeds from varieties of vegetables that I'm really happy with, so I'm planning to grow a few variety trials in order to figure out which ones work best in my context. And I want to start with the types of vegetables that I feel that I've developed the skills and knowledge to be able to grow them really well, so that it increases the chance that I can produce really high quality seed.